everybody, welcome to the Lead Well Book Club. We are in a new month this month. It's the first of the month, and I absolutely just really love a new month because it makes me feel like, yes, I'm going to get things done, and I don't know, it kind of feels like a reboot. So this week, the book that we have is The Art of the Good Life by Rolf Dobili. I'm really horrific at pronouncing these authors' names, but yeah, you should find this book quite easily. The book doesn't really match my mood today. The book is a little bit somber. I didn't love the book, sorry Rolf, because I know that, these books take so much mind power to actually create, but I didn't love it. It made me feel a little bit sad actually, but sometimes I think when I don't love a book, it's just because I'm not intellectually there yet. Like I have a lot of growth. I need to grow intellectually before I'm actually going to understand the book fully. So I do think that this might be the case with this book. But one of the most profound things that I took away from the book is the fact that we're kind of like just a speck on this earth. And we should be very humble because we haven't really earned any of our achievements. It's more down to genes. And yeah, we shouldn't really get carried away with our egos, and we ourselves, as a standalone individual, are not going to go out and radically change the world alone. So that was one of the main things, that the book does kind of reiterate several times. But the book overall is basically like an operating system for life. So the author provides us with like a toolkit or tools that we can use to have a good life, in essence. And there are some things like that I completely agree with and I think are great, and there's other things that I'm a little bit like, really? Do we have to look at the world that pessimistically? Or maybe it's realistically in the author's eyes. One of the things that he does also mention is like there is no perfect setup. One of the lines is there's no perfect business strategy, no optimal stock portfolio, no one right job. So don't invest all your resources into the perfect setup, either in work or personal life, because there is not one. So why do we overestimate setup? That is one of the main things that he kind of mentions in the book. He also talks about the using inflexibility as a strategy, and I actually do agree with this one. So he talks about a CEO that he is well acquainted with, and the CEO never ever has dessert, and he used to always think like, well, why can't you just like look at the dessert list sometimes, or like consider it? Why are you always just so adamant that there'll never be dessert? And that was basically until he kind of understood the strategy of inflexibility, which is basically once you make a decision and you don't go back in it, so you don't use any energy or brain power then thinking about that decision. I think it's a little bit like the Zuckerberg thing where he knows what he's going to wear. It is Zuckerberg, right, that does that. Yeah, every morning he just wears the tracksuit so he doesn't have to think about what getting dressed in. So like not having to make decisions or draining energy on decisions that don't really matter. So yeah, he talks about flexibility. And when it comes to important issues, flexibility isn't an advantage, it's a trap. So yeah, that's what to really think about. And actually for the month of January, I went off all chocolate and wine, which is my big vice. And I am a kind of all for nothing person too. Like I couldn't have it, that's it, not just once a week or something. And I haven't touched it, but if I can touch it a little, or I can think about it now and again, or I can have it once a week, then I'm going to break the habit. So basically he's telling us to chain ourselves to our pages. All right, let's see what other little gems are in here that I want to mention to you. Oh, he talks as well a lot about, it's not about what we add into our life, it's what we omit. So like, setting boundaries and when to say no and, this kind of jazz. He also talks a lot about don't make your emotions your compass. I'm hiding my face right now because I'm a big empath. I'm a very emotionally driven person. I actually did a psychometric test recently on emotional intelligence, and I did not score as high as I thought I would because I make a lot of decisions based on emotion, which is not always a good thing. So yeah, he talks a lot about separating our emotions, from problem solving and decision making, and how to not really give them so much attention, and to cultivate a new relationship with our inner voices, one distant, skeptical and playful. Okay, so I found that one a little hard to swallow because I'm such an emotional person that I can't just detach myself from emotions like that. But that was his advice, and perhaps that definitely does work. What else did he say? Yeah, he talks a little bit again about the disease to please and, small favors, big pitfalls, and how we must say no more often. We're not missing out if we say no. We're actually, adding richness to our lives if we say no more often. Right, let me just see a few more pages here that I highlighted that I don't want to forget. Okay. This one I really liked because I think it really applies to me. So the effect of reading twice isn't twice the effect of reading once. It's much greater. Judging by one's own experience, I put it at a factor of 10. Now, because you all know that I read definitely a book a week, if not more. And sometimes when I love a book, I will read it 3 or 4 times and I'll mark it and I'll put it on my desk and, I'll use it as a go-to. And basically that's the best thing to do, because when you read a book once, you're not really fully reading it. You're kind of just skimming through it and taking pieces of it. So I think that was absolutely spot on, because when I really love a book, I do read it 2 or 3 times. And when I just read a book once, I'm not really taking a lot of actions from it. I'm just grabbing a few insights and I might forget them in a few weeks. So that was quite powerful. He also talks about once you get over 40, that if you don't like the beginning of a book, life's too short. Please don't waste your time trying to like the book and going forward with it. So yeah, those were the other core points. Oh, I'll just finish with this one. There is a few more, but I'm talking a lot here and I'm mindful of that. So last point here is basically other people's shoes. So using role reversal in your life, both in your work life and your personal life. And I think we all know this, but he calls out an example that's quite powerful, where in one company, they basically switched the head of customer support and the head of sales engineering, but they switched them to head up the opposite team, but not temporarily. They did it permanently because the teams weren't seeing eye to eye. So it was like really placing yourself in somebody else's shoes, but like absolutely placing yourself in somebody else's shoes, not just imagining it. So yeah, it was basically, some of the key insights of this book. I would say you really need to read the book to get the full gist of it. It's quite deep. It is worth a read. It's definitely worth a read. It's just not one of my favorites. Okay, thanks guys. That's all for this week. See you next time. Have a nice month. Bye.